There is an EA event today, and E3 is not happening. I tried really hard to stay awake, and I almost fell asleep a couple times. Since I'm a boomer, I took some notes. Can I go over in a very exciting fashion with everyone? My page of notes. Also, the last time I tried to put some gameplay up, I got DMCA. Well, sorry, not DMCA. Let me rephrase. I got copyright claimed by Capcom, so I would normally be playing much more entertaining and visual things behind me. However, now we agree with the CEO of EA, Andrew Wilson, in his true form. We had a little scuffle before. You can see parts of him that are actually a Terminator, because he's actually a Terminator. So this event started with Andrew Wilson acting like a straight up robot. And I'm not sure if it's just me being extra cynical as I get older or what what it is when you just have these people who are saying nothing and it just sounds like nothing, and you can tell that they don't mean it. But they put a lot of emphasis into talking and sounding very strong, like they're in a position of leadership, which he is clearly. But he talks a lot about, I'd like to thank the first responders. I'd like to thank, all these people that are being affected by COVID. There's all this stuff going on in the video about him thanking people. He wants to make sure everyone knows that EA stands for Black Lives Matter, and they're all in supporting everyone. Everyone, don't worry, EA will take your money. But he says it in such a weird way, it just kind of comes off as disingenuous. And it just seems like he's clearly using these movements and these otherwise shittily filled times to sell Madden or something. I'm not super sure what the actual end goal is for him to do that at the beginning, but perhaps this is important to the shareholders of EA, because again, we can't have anything nice. We need to have deadlines. We need to have stakeholders. We need to have shareholders. We need to have all kinds of pressure for game releases. Yes, it's a lovely system. Back to my notes. ASMR. Wangless reads notes. So the next one was Apex Legends. So they talked a whole bunch about it. You can actually see it right above my head here. They were going to have a new event that comes out soon. I want to say it's like the 23rd or something. Just off the top of my head, I didn't write it down because I don't play Apex, but that's awesome that they're still supporting that game. For a long time, right after launch, it seemed like EA was not going to keep supporting that game. And Respawn seemed to single-handedly have saved EA from the clutches of, I don't know, maybe just a riot. They would have just burned down their office. People kind of forget the timing that game came out. They closed down Visceral, and Visceral was reportedly working on that Star Wars RPG that got canceled, the story-focused one. So, I am glad that they're actually putting a little bit of faith into Respawn, and I'm glad that Respawn's kind of doing their own thing, and they're like, no, listen, EA. Pause. Pause. Chill. Watch this. Watch us do this. Watch us just print money for you. It's a free-to-play game. It'll be all the rage with the kids. So they got on Origin. They're launching things on Steam now. That's a new thing. PS4, Xbox, and now the Nintendo Switch is coming out. So there's going to be a whole bunch of people running around on Apex with all kinds of devices that are probably just getting steamrolled by some guy in like Hungary playing on a 240 hertz monitor. He's just fragging everyone, or and it's like this big curved thing in front of his face. Meanwhile, I'm over here on my Switch. I can't see a damn thing and just get murdered. So that's also cool to see. I really enjoy the idea of combining all the player bases for games like this, and it should definitely be the standard, especially for quantities of games that come out that are all multiplayer focused. And then once that goes away, there's almost no point in playing it. Like if Apex you couldn't find a match of 99 people, you're not going to play it. I want to say the calling is like that for a battle royale, where it's just a game that no one plays, and you can't get games. You literally can't play the game you bought because there's not enough people. So that was very exciting. The next thing that they showed in the event is something that's near and dear to my boomer heart, Command and Conquer. So it sounds like they have a lot of good additions for Command and Conquer. They have a bunch of support for mods that they then rolled into a new game. I want to say that they actually redid a whole bunch and they had to go digging through files at EA to try to find some of the original files so they could, like, increase the resolution of the video files that were always so revolutionary back in the day. So if you want to play a top-down RTS game like me because you're about 85 years old, go for it. It's supposed to be good. It's coming out soon. It Takes Two. So this is actually probably my favorite part of EA's thing. EA. So they talked a whole bunch about the guy who made A Way Out and his studio, Hazelight. He's a filmmaker in Sweden, and he comes from... I didn't know where he came from until I was watching this, and they had a little bit of a retrospective right before he started talking about his next game. And I want to... Is Palestine? That can't be right. Jeez. Somewhere in a very war-torn area where he had to get out of there, and it was not safe. So he has a very interesting perspective on things, which kind of explains why he's so passionate and intense. And it comes across in his games. He explained this new game where it's called It Takes Two. It's starring... So, okay, whatever. The backstory, it's a kid. It's a little kid. A little girl, I believe. Mom and dad are getting divorced, and she turns to these two dolls, and you play as the two doll characters, so it kind of goes... It deals with some heavy themes, but it kind of deals with a lot of, like, kids' imagery and stuff. When I say kid, I mean maybe like 8 or 9. I don't think it's like a little kid. But yeah, it deals a lot with that, and it looks pretty wild, but it's obviously in its very beginning stages, so we're not going to see anything on that anytime soon. It's called It Takes Two, and I think it's the third game by Hazelight Studios, which is awesome. The other game, The Way Out, was super interesting to watch, and it's something where it's a good recipe. They got a guy who's really passionate about the game he's making. Not a soulless EA game. The second thing is it's all co-op. So I believe in this one you can play with 2 people, so that's very interesting. The third thing about it is, they're usually pretty affordable. I want to say that since it was 2-player for A Way Out, you could just send if you bought it, you could just send a code to your friend and they could play it too. And it wasn't full price. I want to say it started at $40. I think it's about $20 now if you buy it. So not very long, but you don't need games to be super long. We don't all need 100-hour games. A lot of us are old, and they have to go to work. Like they have real jobs that aren't like this, where I get to play games all day. I wish I could. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, and we'll see where that goes. Another game that's an indie game. It's called Lost in Random. And you literally have a side character that's going around with you on an adventure that's just a dice. And it's all about luck and probability. There's not a lot about that game, and it's all cinematic, so I'm not super sure what that game is about, but it looks pretty interesting. And I guess we'll have to see more about it. So Rocket Arena also was announced today. And that is a indie game that comes from a studio that used to be called First Strike. And it was actually here in Bellevue. I'm not sure what happened, but they changed their name from First Strike Games to Final Strike Games. And I think that they got a bunch of funding to make a AAA game, and then I thought maybe their stuff was canceled. And I actually know about it because there's a lot of old Halo pros and Halo community members that went to go work at First Strike Games. And I didn't really know what was going on with this Rocket game that they were working on. They kind of tease it here and there, and I want to say that it was like maybe free to play for a bit, but now it's unlisted on Steam, and it's going to be re-released I think in the fall. So Rocket Arena kind of looks like the whole catch is like the only weapons are rockets, so it almost seems like an old school Unreal or Quake game in that way, just the gunplay. But the game looks very similar to Overwatch or Fortnite with the cell shading, so it does look interesting, and we'll just have to see what's happening with that. I want to say it comes out in like October, November, the version that comes out with EA. So we'll have to see what happens. The next thing that they talked about was the Squadrons game, the Star Wars Squadrons. So I have a couple. This is actually kind of an expansive um, preview that they did in the EA Live Play event. So the very first thing I want to talk about is how they get away with doing this thing where they call it in-game footage. In-game footage with a game that is designed around the Frostbite engine is like saying the most wonderfully crafted 3D animation that happens to be in a movie. You know, like a Pixar movie, and they just happen, and they're like in movie. Like, I don't even know a good comparison because that doesn't even make sense. It's not representative of anything else in the game. It's literally a beautifully crafted, amazing CGI cinematic trailer. Like it's not gameplay. When you say in-game, it doesn't mean anything to me. In-game engine game, no. In-engine anything, not enough. You either say this is gameplay or this is not gameplay. So, stop it. Stop it, EA. So, the details about this game seem kind of interesting. So, it's both a single player and a multiplayer game. You have two players. One is for the Rebels and one is for the Empire. And both of them have single player story beats. I'm not really sure what those story beats are, except they're supposed to get more difficult over time. And it's probably more similar to almost like a Titanfall-esque game where, you could almost swap out being online versus not being online, and it's just the AI, they're just dumb if you're not playing online. I'm not super sure what that entails, but we'll just have to wait and see. So this also is something that EA is supporting with full crossplay. At least that's what they said. I don't know if that is as comprehensive as Apex up there with all the things, but it also has full VR and race stick if you got one of those wheels. It's got one of those. So the full VR support will be very interesting to see because you're actually straight up in the cockpit when you're looking at the gameplay for the Squadrons game. So I guess we'll just also have to see what does that play like, because they did not play very much of the gameplay. You got to see inside the cockpit for like a second, and it sounded like you had to like flip switches and you had to like maintain things and try to achieve goals. There's multiple stages. Like it seemed pretty complicated, but they didn't really go into any gameplay. They just kind of loosely explain the concepts of the game, which it's not how I learn how things work, and I don't think it's a great way for all your consumers to know more about your game. But they did put out a release date of October 2nd, so it's about 4 months from now. And yeah, I guess we'll see what that is, but it's supposed to not be a full price point, and hey, crossplay is always good. And I don't know who hasn't dreamed of flying around in Star Wars. So let's hope it's just about as good as Rogue Squadron was back in the day. They also went over the obligatory, this is EA Sports, look at our football, look at our sports games, look at our FIFA. And they knew that the people who actually care about their bullshit were watching. So they summarized all of it as EA games, like as if that was just one game. They said, fuck it, we're not even going to show you how FIFA cards work. We're not even going to talk about Madden Ultimate. We're going to show just a little bit of like a FaceTime with one of the people in the Madden game. I can't even remember who it was anymore because I just couldn't be bothered to pay attention to that part of it because Madden's not really my jam. Good on you if you do like Madden, but it's kind of, almost at this point going against my principles to buy it because they signed another deal to make it so only EA has the rights to it, which seems kind of ridiculous. So the credits are about to roll. I'm not even sure of her title. I think that she might direct all of the EA games departments, and she's like, oh, hey, we got one more thing. Then in the EA Play event, it just smash cuts to the guy who made Skate, I believe, and another guy. And they're sitting there and they're like, hey, we're bringing Skate back. Pew, 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 finger guns. Look, Skate's coming back. Everyone get excited. Look how cool it is. Skate, you know, and if they had an equivalent of an actual thing to show us as representative gameplay, it would kind of be like, what's your skateboard look like? And they're like, well, we got this, and it's made of wood, and yeah, we're probably going to use something like that to make skateboards. They had nothing. And they didn't even talk about what that meant of a skate game. Is it a mobile game? Is it Skate 4? Is it a reimagining of Skate? Huh? What is it? They literally just said they're working on a skate game. Everyone on Twitter has reported it as Skate 4. It is not Skate 4. No one has said it's Skate 4. It just says a skate game. There were rumors that Skate was just going to be made as a mobile game, like a couple months ago. So, yeah, I hope it comes out, and I would love to play it. I loved Skate 1, Skate 2, Skate 3. It's kind of just a meme at this point, but regardless, the real question here is, why haven't we seen Tony Hawk? That's really what we need to know. Okay, so EA review. Pros. I wrote some down here. It Takes Two. The director of It Takes Two. Everything that's going on with It Takes Two. Pro. Gonna be interesting to see how that goes. Second pro. Crossplay for new games. EA sets the bar for everything. Because they're such a big company. All their games sell absolute boatloads of copies. Entire frigates. Aircraft carriers. They'll say things aren't successful because they only sell 7 million copies. So if EA games are out there on multiplayer platforms setting the precedent for crossplay between everything, regardless of input, and you can filter it, that's a standard. It's very pro-consumer and leads to everyone being able to actually do things together. So that's good. Another pro, a new skate game. I think they didn't tell us anything. Another pro is the Lost in Random game. I really enjoy the EA's finding indie studios and being like, you, here, money, make game. I'm concerned about the safety. Do I have to bring back the EA meme where everyone gets shot and dumped in a graveyard? And the last one is the Rocket Arena game. It looks pretty cool. And I'll just have to wait to see more on that. I might be a little biased because the people who worked on it know a lot about FPS games. So, the cons. We'll go over this real fast. No Mass Effect Remaster. It's very sad. No mention of Dead Space at all. No remaster, no new game, nothing. Who knows why? Oh yeah, that's right. They destroyed Visceral. Still on the IP. Sell the IP or do something with it, you bastards. Third one. No Titanfall 3. Why? Probably because of Apex, but also because no one can be happy. 4. Anthem. Not discussed. They're supposed to be remaking Anthem. They're supposed to be redesigning the game because it was so fucking rushed and terrible as an RPG, and no one wants to play it except for just a handful of people clinging, and they're like, it's coming, we got hope. And they're like, it's gonna be a while. Like, they got one guy in BioWare in, like, the dungeon, just down there in the basement. They're like, yeah, work on that netcode. Yeah, make a new story. So I have no idea what's going on with that. I really want them to address that soon. Like a timeline. They're just like, it's happening. I think their E3 announcement would have been a good time to talk about that. The fifth thing, no, not a good con. Or not a con, just a con. Sorry, no double negatives. This is why you like to edit videos. Lack of gameplay. Almost no gameplay. Just give us gameplay. It's all we want. Don't tell me things are in engine. If I see that again, I don't know I don't know. I have no threats, game developers, but I don't like it. It makes me immediately go frowny face. And the last criticism I have, just in general, is there's really nothing of concern in this. The coolest thing was skate. Otherwise, I kind of wanted to go to sleep. It was kind of warm today. It's just about to become summertime. I had some lunch. I was getting quite drowsy, as you do after a nice lunch. And, it was like 4 p.m. Coming down on off of all the caffeine for the day. Getting real sleepy. We'd like to show you all of the new things that we're working on at EA Sports. Like, it's basically ASMR. I was about to go to sleep. So I really think they should have come out with a presentation like bam, 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 bam. Here's all the games that we have been making over the last 5 years. Bam, 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 bam. Here are all the new games that are coming out. Gameplay would have been great, but it felt very boring to me, and I think that's kind of just the general consensus. But it's also EA, so what are you going to do? My fingers are just crossed that we're not going to throw any more bodies in the graveyard. So this is Wangless, and yeah, like the video. Subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, you're probably not. But if you are, unsubscribe. Then smash subscribe again so you can feel the rush, the endorphins running through your body. Leave a comment below if you have something to talk about. Do you want to talk to Andrew Wilson? He actually will reply to your comment as the Terminator. He gets paid so much money, guys. It's disgusting. I hope that his life is good for the amount of money he gets and the way he has to read teleprompters. Yeah, and like the video, it helps. I'm a very small YouTube channel for now, but this is only like phase 2 out of 7 for world domination. So anyway, this is Wangless. Bye-bye. 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 Goodbye. Have a good time for the rest of whenever the day is you watch this. Bye-bye.